Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Friday, September 11th. This is your daily Buckeye Fix. I'm Tom Orr. It's another crazy day in the ongoing insanity surrounding the Big Ten's possible return to fall football. Thursday, there was a lot of movement from several different spots in the conference that maybe helps us shed some more light on what is maybe happening or not happening soon. One of those things was a statement from Ohio State head coach Ryan Day. I'm just going to read it in its entirety in case you have not seen it. From Coach Day: while I understand the Big Ten Conference's decision to postpone the football season because of health and safety consideration, the communication of information from the Big Ten following the decision has been disappointing and often unclear. However, we still have an opportunity to give our young men what they have worked so hard for, a chance to safely compete for a national championship this fall. I couldn't possibly be prouder of how this team, our medical personnel, athletic director, and president have stayed together and managed through this extremely difficult time with so many unanswered questions. The Big Ten Medical Subcommittee has done an excellent job of creating a safe pathway toward returning to play in mid-October. Just going to read that last sentence again. The Big Ten Medical Subcommittee has done an excellent job of creating a safe pathway toward returning to play in mid-October. Okay, put a pin in that one. Day's statement continues: these young men and their parents have asked so many questions that I do not have an answer to, but the one that hurts the most is, why can these other teams and players play and we can't? Duke is playing Notre Dame, and Clemson is playing Wake Forest this weekend. Our players want to know, why can't they play? Buckeye Scoop beat reporter Tony Gerdeman joins me. And Tony, there's an awful lot to unpack here, but what was your first thought when you read that statement from Ryan Day?
It's the thing you put the pin in, because it was almost like a message in a bottle, or some code that he's trying to get out of this prison that he is currently in, known as the Big Ten, where it's like he's writing that he's not happy with how things are going. They're not getting as much communication as they need. And oh, by the way, there is actually a path to freedom, and that's what stuck out to me. And I'm sure we'll talk about that as well. But as you were just reading it again, the fact that they talk with the administrators of the Big Ten, leaders of the Big Ten, and the Ohio State coaches, Ryan Day specifically, is coming away without knowing exactly what was said, in terms of not even knowing what was said to him. Basically, like, you're telling me stuff that is not clear, and it reminds me of my own college days, of course, leaving rooms, classrooms, and being a little bit confused as to what I was just told. But it's amazing that somebody like Ryan Day, Ohio State head coach, is getting answers that don't make sense to him or aren't quite actual answers. I'm assuming there's a bunch of, let's office talk, let's table this and we'll come back around to it. I'm sure, we've all heard those great catchphrases and keywords that we all hate. And I'm guessing there's been a lot of that for him. And as a football coach, that's probably the last thing you ever want to hear from somebody, is that, we'll address that later. We'll come up with an answer for that later. But just the fact that the answers he is getting are unclear, confusing, incomplete, when this is a major economy. Basically, the Big Ten, I mean, it provides, it's like, the giant hangars have their own climate. Basically, the Big Ten has its own climate and things of that nature, and it's just so gigantic. And yet there is so much confusion as to what is going on from the top down. And players look up to their coach for answers. And Ryan Day is telling them, hopefully soon, every single week, hopefully soon. And it's a helpless feeling for him, a helpless feeling for the players. And I'm sure there's tons of frustration. And that's just the Big Ten in a nutshell right now, where you're not getting the answer, not getting the answers you don't want. It's not getting answers, and not getting them clear, and not getting them concise or timely. And it's, we talk about this every week, and it doesn't seem to change.
Well, Ryan Day was not the only Big Ten head coach who was sort of came out of his self-imposed silence on Thursday. Penn State's James Franklin also was on ESPN Radio. He said, "It's been challenging, as you guys know. I think the big challenge as the head football coach is that your players and your parents think that you have all the answers to what's going on, but the reality is we're dependent on the Big Ten to drive this thing forward. It's been challenging. It truly has. In terms of where we're at, I'm not really sure. I think that's part of the problem. To me, I've said this from the beginning. I don't necessarily have an issue with the decision. I've got an issue with the process, and I've got an issue with the timing. To be able to stand up in front of your team and parents and tell them that the season is canceled and postponed, but not have any answers to how that affects their future and when we'll be playing football, and still haven't a month later, that's the hard part. It's been really, really challenging. I think a big part of leadership is being able to just deliver answers to people's questions, and also to be able to drive people towards a vision and drive people towards a plan. Right now, we don't have those things. Now, that sure sounds a lot like Ryan Day's statement in a lot of different ways. And I think mirrors a lot of what you and I have probably been saying about where the frustration is sort of coming from for the last month or so. But I'm wondering, those two statements coming out on the same day, there have been reports that the Big Ten head coaches had some kind of a conference call with Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren on Thursday. And Tony, it doesn't seem to me like it's probably a complete coincidence that if that conference call happened and then two different coaches issued statements saying very much the same thing and complaining about very much the same issues, that probably is not a coincidence, and that probably is suggestive of where the conference is probably still falling short, even in their communications with the head coaches in the league as recently as yesterday.
With both of those coaches coming out and saying stuff, it made me think that Kevin Warren gave them some sort of, hey, we'll see. And it's like, well, they've heard that before. And so they're going to take some preemptive movement on this and just strike back a little, say that they haven't been happy with the communication. They don't know what to tell their players because the Big Ten 1 month anniversary of shutting things down still hasn't given them answers on starting things back up. And, sure, they're in the process of doing that, but it's been a month and we've been waiting for that. And so, I think you got a couple of coaches who aren't just going to lay around and wait for the Big Ten to do what they did the last time, which is burn them. When Ryan Day was going on television saying, we want to play, we're going to fight. And then I believe like 36 hours later or so, the Big Ten is like, yeah, we're done. And they don't want to be burned again without at least, I guess, continuing that fight. And, we'll see if it works. I still think it's pretty fascinating that Ryan Day revealed a little bit about what they have been told because, hey, thank you. We haven't been told anything. So we actually got a little bit of news from him, and now we can talk about that a little bit, move on with that, and go from there. And, at least we know that there's some process going on rather than just, we're having talks.
In addition to the call with Warren on Thursday, something else that may be playing into the timing of these coaches coming out right now, time is getting close to running out. It's getting late pretty early right now in terms of being able to play on some kind of a schedule that would get a Big Ten champion into the college football playoff. That college football playoff selection show is currently set for Sunday, December 20th. And if you're going to start playing the season on October 17th or October 24th, there are not that many Saturdays between then and the college football playoff selection show. So that's one factor. You've also got, there have been sort of allusions and we've heard about just frustration within the Ohio State program right now that guys are getting frustrated that they still don't have answers, and the guys that should have answers, like Ryan Day, have not been given the answers either by the people at the league level. So at some point, the guys who are going to leave for the NFL are going to start leaving for the NFL, and you're going to start losing the team that you've spent all of this time putting together and keeping together. So that's another element of this that could be playing into some of the timing. And, Tony, what kind of timing are they looking at in terms of you've got a certain number of weeks you're going to have to spend to get ready, and we've heard kind of varying numbers on that from 2 to 4 in terms of getting ready for the season. And then if they start on October 17th, is that enough time to get in a full season with enough flexibility to potentially get it done before a college football playoff selection show?
Yeah, I think October 17th is, and I don't have my schedule or my calendar in front of me. I believe they can get in maybe 9 games in 10 weeks with an October 17th start. And I think if you're Ohio State and you've run through the Big Ten, or you're Penn State and you've run through the Big Ten, or whoever you are, I think that would be enough, depending obviously on what everybody else does. I don't expect a bunch of other undefeated teams in either the ACC, the SEC, or the Big 12. Certainly not four of them in those two conferences, I would say. But I think, October 17th, there's that. I am still of the belief that, and let me know what you think about this, the college football playoff can't have rigid dates. I know they have dates set, but they have to be flexible in case one of the teams in the playoffs comes down with something, because they're not going to accept a forfeit in that scenario. So I would think if that is built into things, that maybe if Ohio State or the Big Ten has to start October 24th, maybe does the college football playoff move back a week? Because I guarantee they have that built in because of the unknown nature of what the playoffs will be in terms of what happens if 17 guys come down with COVID for the playoffs. They're not going to make Alabama forfeit that game to Baylor, right? Baylor.
Of all the reasons that Baylor's not going to win a college football playoff game this year, that is definitely one of them. Yes. There has been all sorts of tea leaf reading and real and imagined sources leaking current vote counts to all sorts of different reporters and Twitter.com personalities. One of the theories floated on Thursday was that Rutgers is in now, and Rutgers is going to be a yes vote and help push the Big Ten over the top. Rutgers president Jonathan Holloway said on Thursday, if I'm wrong it's because I was erring on the side of safety, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think I'm wrong, though. I just don't think it. And if I had to put money down, we're going to see some radical changes within a month, no later than October. I'm really worried about what we're headed toward on just college campuses in general, not just sports. It's deeply concerning. So he's a no. If you need me to translate that for you, he is a no. So go ahead and mark Rutgers as a no on your scorecard. There have been lots of different reports on who's going to be a yes, who's going to be a maybe. Rutgers is a no. So that's one thing to you can say with a pretty good deal of certainty right now. The national media, college football media, did not cover itself in glory in responding to Ryan Day's statement on Thursday. I'll just read these to you, Tony, and I'll let you react to them. I reacted on twitter.com, and you can find that on you can find that there if you'd like. Pat Forty of the Corps of Sports Illustrated. At least we're down to brass tacks. The schools that voted not to play in the fall should change their vote so Ohio State can chase a national championship. Got that? Illinois/Indiana/Maryland/Michigan State/Michigan/Minnesota/Northwestern/Penn State/Purdue/Rutgers/Wisconsin. That's a take. Nicole Auerbach of The Athletic. We've known this was Ryan Day and Ohio State's stance for a few weeks, but it's still wild to see a head football coach essentially declare war on his conference. This has always been about one team, Ohio State, wanting to compete for a national championship this fall with a good enough team to win it. So, Tony, I'll let you react to those. But first, wasn't it nice of Nebraska and Iowa to vote yes just to let Ohio State chase the national championship? That seems very kind of you. Hear how nice those Nebraska folks are. I thought that was extremely kind of them to
we know how nice the Nebraska folks are, and they took it to heart, the all for one for all type of thing when they joined the Big Ten, and they were obviously they want to see Ohio State win it all just as badly as Buckeye fans do. And yeah, that take of it's just Ohio State that wants this reminds me of the Big Ten lawyer saying it's just eight Nebraska players who want football. It's like what? And so then to see a national reporter here doing the same thing with Ohio State, and at least Pat Forty didn't put Nebraska in his slashes of teams. Like he left them out because he knows they want football. And the declaring war on the Big Ten, like if this is Ryan Day has declared war on the Big Ten by asking for communication, asking the Big Ten to, hey, consider this thing that your medical staff, your medical team task force has put together. Consider that so that maybe we could play in mid-October. Because, Tom, and I'm not sure that everybody understands this. I'm not sure that the national media understands this. These are football coaches who would like to play football during a football season where many other teams, in fact, a majority of the nation's football teams are playing football. And so this is just Ryan Day declaring war on the Big Ten by wanting to play football which is his job, and everybody else is doing it. Ohio high school football is doing it. Cincinnati's getting ready to play. I'm still, and we'll probably get into this much more on Buckeye Weekly. Like we'll just go off for like an hour about all of this. But the odd vitriol, the odd like Ryan Day is this bad guy for wanting to coach, and then also for wanting to win a national championship. How dare you, sir? How dare you want to win a championship? You, sir. That is gross negligence. That is disgusting. And, ooh, look, there goes Nick Saban. He's so dreamy.
I think it was Jeremy Birmingham on Twitter who pointed out that Pat Forty, who is so disgusted at the idea that Ohio State would only be playing solely to win a national championship and putting the health of so many at risk, is going to Notre Dame this weekend to cover a football game.
Drop that mic, Tom.
Yep. That's a thing you can do. That is a thing you can do. Well, we'll have high school football coming tonight because hey, that's speaking of groups who are playing football right now in the state of Ohio and across the Midwest. High school football is tonight. Tony, where are you headed tonight to go watch some high school ball?
I'm gonna head to Dayton, Kettering Alter to watch CJ Hicks. This will be my first time getting to see him, to shoot some video. Hopefully there's more for him to do than we saw from last week with Sonny Styles, who had nothing to do against Newark because there's no hope for that Newark offensive line. But I'm looking forward to it. You know, he's committed. He's 6'4", 215, 220, kind of a freak athlete. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. There's also a defensive lineman there that the Buckeyes are interested in. I believe Derek Shepard is his name, a 2022 prospect. So I'll get video there as well. Hopefully talk to both afterwards and see how things are going. You know, we know how things are going with Hicks, CJ Hicks. We'll see maybe how things are progressing with Shepard as well.
And we will have Buckeye Scoop reporters at games all across the state of Ohio tonight. So you can find all of those reports and coverage and scouting insights at buckeyescoop.com. We are also anticipating at some point, the Big Ten has to address something at some point. So there will be a vote at some point. We will continue to share what we're hearing, what we're learning, and whenever there is a decision, we'll share that with you and the impact of that decision as well. So that's all at buckeyescoop.com. Great time to sign up, become a member, join our site. You get access to all sorts of great insider content, as well as our Ask the Insiders board, where we have an extremely lively series of chats during the week, and you get access to ask us. It is basically an Ask Me Anything kind of board, and we get asked all sorts of stuff. So that is all at buckeyescoop.com. Worth the price of admission. This would be a good time to sign up and give it a shot, give it a month, and seems like this next month is going to be a real interesting one way or the other. So that's all at buckeyescoop.com. Also, make sure you check out all of our podcasts. We have 11 different podcasts on the Buckeye Scoop podcast network, including podcasts about things like the Cleveland Indians and a whole bunch of other stuff, and lots of specialized recruiting podcasts and gambling podcasts, as well as the Buckeye Weekly show that you and I both do, and a whole bunch of other great shows. You can just find all of those on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud. Just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of those. While you're there, you can subscribe and also leave us a 5-star rating and review. That will help new folks find those shows. We greatly appreciate all of those things that you do for us. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And we will see you Monday.